Welcome to Stokastic's MLB Live Before Lock. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by SoRare MLB, which is a collection of digital trading cards and an NFT-based free-to-play baseball game. A lot of fun. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Adam, we are here just to talk about the 4-game slate. In the past, we've done a few shows where, we talk about multiple slates on these shows and we have to go through like 14 games in an hour. Here, we're just talking about 4 games because we have another MLB Live Before Lock later on today. Do you know, are you on that one?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I haven't actually looked, but
I assume so. Yeah, I guess that would probably make sense because it's a conversion of the NBA Deeper Dive to Live Before Lock for the 1 game. So yeah, you'll probably be back talking about baseball again later on tonight. I will not be. This is I have a live show right now. I'll be on a show immediately after this, doing an Underdog NBA show with Laffy right after this one. But and then my day is done as far as live shows go. But Adam and I just covering this 4-game slate early on, so we can go pretty in depth here. If you guys have any questions for us while we're talking about the early slate, again, it's just 4 games. Happy to answer any questions. And of course, while you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. We are still waiting on a few lineups on this early slate, right? As far as I can tell.
Yeah, we just got the Phillies lineup. We're still waiting on the D-backs, which is annoying because that game starts in an hour. And then we're waiting on the Padres, which we may or may not get before lock.
Right. Yeah, it's not till a little bit later on. I thought yesterday went pretty well, Adam. I mean, my single entry team, I chose to stack the Twins, which did not go so great. Twins and Brewers did not work out. If I had just chosen the Orioles, those were the 3 teams that I was deciding between. If I had just chosen the Orioles, I think I could have done quite well. I had a free ticket to the 888 is the specific lineup I'm talking about. Usually I don't play those kind of high stake stuff, but I did yesterday. I stacked the Twins and the Brewers. Did not go so well for me. Really regretted not choosing the Orioles, those were the 3 teams I was considering. So kind of a mess for me. How did yesterday go for you?
Not great. I don't even remember who I played a lot of. I know I didn't have a lot of the Orioles, so that sucked. Yeah, I didn't end up with anything that like was a sweat or anything.
Yeah, me neither. No, my 20 max did a little bit better, but yeah, in the 888 definitely made the wrong choice there. And that was, of course, I just that was a hand built lineup, and I ended up duping, as I was telling you, I duped with Wakey, who's a very good player. So I felt like I made a pretty good lineup. It was a 4-4 Twins Brewers stack, duping with one of the better MLB players out there. So couldn't feel too bad about it, but I also hate being duped. So I do from that perspective. It was like in a 500-man field on a 12-game slate or whatever it was to be duped. From that perspective, felt pretty fishy of me to be duped with somebody, but the lineup itself, not bad.
I always view that like because like I'm the same way. I don't think I hate being. I mean, obviously I hate being duped. I don't think I put as much emphasis on it in some sports as like other people do, and maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. But in like a sport like MLB where you're not really expecting to be duped, when I am duped, it's like, one, it's annoying, obviously, because you can't get first place by yourself. But if I see it's just like, oh, I'm duped twice, and it's McLovin and B. Kreider, it's like, okay, well, I can't do anything about that. Like they obviously thought this was a very good tournament lineup as well. The solution is make worse lineups, I guess, which I don't really want to do. So
right.
That's typically how I view it. It's like if you get duped like once or twice, generally it's just bad luck anyway in a sport like baseball.
Right.
But especially if it's by somebody like Wakey, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna intentionally make lineups that Wakey wouldn't make.
Yeah, exactly. That's the like duality of it. Like I'm in part, I'm like, man, I can't believe I got duped making one lineup. But I also just, I don't think that many people do 4-4s. So it's kind of, I thought I was getting unique a little bit with the construction. It's, less common, I think, than like 5-3 stacks, but also on a 12-game slate, it was like, yeah, I probably should have gotten just a little bit more different than
probably
I did.
Bad luck.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does like that does come into play a little bit in baseball with, like you said, the roster construction. I think, especially if you're going 5-3 or 4-4, just because you're not going to get the one-off or 2-man to be different. Like there's just fewer combinations, so like you're more likely to be duped. But still, then like I don't think there's much you can do about it unless you're willing to just say like, oh well, I'm just going to go way off the board and I'm going to let the other good players have the good teams. I'm going to go like just play the worst teams I can.
The absolute shit lineups in the 888. That's the other thing. Like you don't really need to get as contrarian in the 888 and in a 500 person field as opposed to like a 17,000 person field. You don't have to get as weird. So in some ways it makes it more likely that you're going to be duped. But I still think I probably should have gotten a little bit more off the beaten track. It was just, I haven't been playing high stakes much. So I was like, all right, I kind of like this lineup that I made. Looks like a good lineup to me. What are you going to do? I see Jeffrey Battaglia says, you mentioned Orioles yesterday, and I went with that. Thanks. Good turnout. Yeah, that went great. If you played the Orioles yesterday, as Adam suggested, as one of his top stacks, man, some people just want to complain. Somebody complaining about suggesting the Twins stack that like everybody was on. Like it was a great stack, obviously, and you suggest the Twins as one of the stacks that you're going to play, and we get complaints about the one stack. Apparently, that's the stack that Fanatic. I don't know. That's just.
I'll be clear with the thing that actually annoys me about that. If I'm wrong on something, like I'm fully aware and call me out. If I'm just basically reading off stats, it's not an opinion. Like nothing that was said was wrong. The Twins didn't hit. It's baseball. That shit happens a lot. Get used to it. So yeah, it's like, basketball, you have to, talk about minutes and stuff. So a lot of times you'll have like, I think in this matchup, this guy's going to play more. And then the coach will be like, screw you. No, he's not. And it's like, okay, well, I was wrong. But
Right.
like saying Joey Gallo has a good matchup there because XYZ, like that's not an opinion.
Right. And I feel like in general, like on this channel in general, we're talking more about like ranges of outcomes than like giving takes. We're not here to like give you our takes. We give you the range of outcomes.
There's not a lot of like room to do that in baseball.
Right.
Like the closest you can get to giving like a take in baseball is, I think this pitcher is hurt because his velocity is down. Like you'll see that a lot. And, sometimes it works out. A lot of times it's just random small sample variance. And like that kind of stuff is at least, it's still data backed, but it's at least like somewhat of an opinion. Or, like I think this hitter is different than previous years because his launch angle is different. I think he changed his swing, something like that. That kind of stuff, you're at least like going a little bit off the ledge and, may or may not be wrong. But for the most part, you can't get that creative with baseball takes because you have a lineup of 9 guys, who is playing, that they're going to hit one after the other. Basketball, you get a lot more like freedom to just be wrong.
Right. And like this guy subs out for this guy. So maybe I don't know. There are a lot of things in basketball that are a little bit more. Yeah, you're right. There's more like
football, you have more freedom to be wrong too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But baseball is just like, you're just stacking teams. You're hopefully stacking the better batters from a team and closer together in the order is better, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. It's just it's just a weird thing to get upset about that the Twins didn't hit yesterday. Like it's a 162 game season. More often than not, the best stack is not going to do well. Like that's just how baseball is.
I think we specifically said it about the Brewers yesterday too, like because we were talking about how separated they were from the rest of the pack in terms of top stack percentage, but that they were still 85% to not be the top stack.
M. Bellman says if you only got one lineup in the 888, I think you got to be different than the 2 most popular teams on a 12-game slate. Wakey surely max entered it, so duping one of his is less than ideal. Yeah, no, I agree. It's less than I also didn't honestly spend a ton of time on it.
To be fair with Wakey, and I don't know what he played, maybe he's changed his style too. If Wakey max entering is different than other people max entering, at least in the past, Wakey typically max enters as if he's not max entering. Like he just jams in one, like 2 or 3 teams.
Interesting.
So it is a little bit different with him.
Yeah, right. So he jammed the better teams here.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if he did that yesterday, but he's always been, at least in the past, he's always been a like
more condensed.
I'm either going to have 150 teams competing for first place, or I'm just not going to cash today.
Right, which is I think something that Ricky D does like some of the time is at least my impression. He sometimes will really jam in certain teams, like teams that he really likes, and sometimes will be more spread out.
Yeah, he definitely Ricky D definitely is one of the pros that's good. That also takes more extreme stands than most.
Yeah, exactly. We got a super chat already. Greatness 410 says, "What percentage of your lineups typically have a one-off in a small slate like the early one right now versus a big slate like tonight?" I think I'm more inclined to have one off. Go ahead. What's your answer here?
I was going to say I don't have a good answer because I don't generally pay a lot of attention to it. Like I'm not going into a slate saying you're like, oh, well, this is a bigger slate, so I can't have one-offs or whatever. You're probably going to have just in general more one-offs on a smaller slate just because there's less like combinations of full 5-man, 3-man stacks or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's not like it's not something that I try and account for when I'm making lineups. Yeah, I assume you're going to have a higher percentage on a short slate, but like I'm still building my lineups the same way where I'm building 5-3s, 5-2s, 5x, 4-4, 4-3 on FanDuel. I'm still building, like the same 4-4 and 4-3s that I normally do.
So for me, it's sometimes I will have more one-offs. So I would say in general, I do have more one-offs in general on shorter slates, because there are some slates where I just look at it like the pitching matchups, the teams involved, and I'm like, I don't think any of these teams could support a 5-man stack. So or sometimes even like a great 4-man stack. So sometimes I'm more likely to do like on a full slate, I'm never gonna do 3 stacks. Sometimes I'll do that on a short slate. So for me at least, I'm a little bit more likely to get one-offs in short slates. But it really does. It depends on the given slate. We will get into this slate. We'll talk about that starting in just a second. We did get another super chat. Jorge Jacome says, I'm the guy that bets on your picks, and usually I cash on GPPs between Adam's top picks and Stokastic top stacks tool. Thanks for the Baltimore pick yesterday, by the way. It worked really well. Yeah, that stack went off. Ryan Mountcastle, like 2 homers and double or something. I feel like the whole stack was just, I mean, that was a stack.
Yeah, Hayes was the only player in the lineup that didn't get on base. He also flew out to the wall. So if anybody had a good lineup with Austin Hayes, that probably doesn't make you feel any better. But
right.
Yeah, they just all hit. But Mountcastle, I mentioned it I think I mentioned it on the show yesterday. I definitely mentioned it in my MLB notes article, which will be up later today. But he's been extremely unlucky this year. Going into yesterday's game, his expected WOBA was 89 points higher than his actual WOBA. He had a 389 xWOBA, which is really good. His actual's 301 going into yesterday. He was somebody that just sooner or later is going to stop hitting the ball really hard right at people.
Interesting. So your favorite teams, you blame bad luck. I blame the refs generally when the Timberwolves lose. All right, we will jump into this slate.
We are now only waiting on one lineup too. We got the Padres, nice. So now we're just waiting on the Diamondbacks too. I assume they're waiting on Josh Rojas' status, but I have no idea.
Okay, yeah, and that is the first game of the slate, which makes it a little bit tough. So we've dragged it out a little bit, hoping that we could maybe.
Corbin Carroll status probably.
Oh, Corbin Carroll's, yeah. All right, well, we will do our best. We can circle back once we get the lineup if you think it changes anything. Who do we have? I don't see a starting pitcher for Texas in the or for Arizona in Fantasy Cruncher.
Brandon Pfaadt.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
It's one of their top pitching prospects making his major league debut.
Okay. Well, then I'll let you talk about that right away. We'll jump in now and talk.
Not in the player pool on DraftKings.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes that easy to not talk about him as a play at least. Any interest in Andrew Heaney going up against Arizona?
Always some interest in Heaney, especially on shorter slates, just because the strikeout stuff is so good. You know what you're getting with him at this point, and it's either a lot of fantasy points or negative fantasy points, basically. The guy gives up a ton of home runs. He also strikes out a lot of dudes. That's pretty much what it is. Looking at the top pitchers tool right now, we have him 4th in top 2 pitcher percentage, but he's at 33%. And to put the top 2 pitcher tool in context today, outside of Luis Sessa, pretty much everybody's got a decent chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Framber Valdez is at the top at 47%. Gavin Stone is second from the bottom at 22%. Sessa's at like 1%. That's just a totally different thing. But all of these pitchers look fine. None of them, except for Valdez, stand out away from the rest of the field. So being 4th in top, being 4th of 7 in top 2 pitcher percentage isn't as damning as it sounds, because he's 2 points off of being 2nd. So certainly a lot of upside for Heaney. He's pulling 39% ownership as well. And yeah, just a good strikeout pitcher, 32.2% strikeout percentage since the start of last year, 3.48 xFIP, 1.7 home runs per 9. When he misses, it's just not in a good place to miss, and it gets hit really, really far, but does have excellent strikeout stuff. You do have some right-handed power in this Diamondbacks lineup, Marte, Gurriel, Walker in particular. So they certainly can do some damage, but it's also not like Heaney can't strike out right-handed hitters, because he certainly can. This year so far, 23.3%, but since the start of last year, 33.3%. So again, just a really big boom or bust spot for Heaney.
Yeah, which kind of feels like that's always the spot for Heaney. Is he like? Is there ever a matchup that you really feel that comfortable starting Andrew Heaney? They're pretty rare.
No, not at all.
All right, what about the bats in this one?
The Diamondbacks are interesting in tournaments just because of everything we just said about Heaney. They're pulling 10% ownership, 14% chance of being the top stack. But the thing is that when the Diamondbacks come through against somebody like Heaney, it's very, very favorable for DFS, because it's not super likely that it's just a bunch of singles and doubles. It's more likely that either they strike out 10 times or they hit like 4 home runs. And obviously home runs are king in DFS. So they are projected to go a little bit under-owned. We are still waiting on that lineup. Again, I assume we're just waiting on whether or not Corbin Carroll can play today. He is a lefty, so it's not an ideal matchup for him, but he's also really, really good. Like if he's in, that's still a bump for the Arizona stack. But Ketel Marte, Gurriel, Walker, all plenty of power from the right side. Emmanuel Rivera likely to be hitting towards the top of the order. He is cheap. Longoria is still playing Major League Baseball. You have Gabby Moreno, who's a pretty high upside option as far as catchers go. He's a highly regarded prospect. He was part of the trade for he came over with Gurriel from the Blue Jays for Dalton Varsho. So he's somebody I don't mind getting to, assuming he's in the lineup. Definitely like the power upside that the Diamondbacks offer here, pretty modest ownership.
All right. And then how would you rank the four sides of the game?
Heaney won. Oh, I didn't mention the Rangers, but Brandon Pfaadt is a good, talented pitcher. I mean, prospect, I should say. This is his major league debut. So there's a ton of volatility here. You know, you're not looking at him and saying, like, oh, this guy's just like a total gas can that sucks and the Rangers are going to light him up. But Fangraphs has him as the 16th overall prospect in baseball. He, this year at AAA, made 5 starts, 25 innings pitched, struck out 28.6% of hitters. At AAA last year in 10 starts, struck out 30.6% of hitters. The bat projects him for a 22% strikeout percentage here. So there is still plenty of upside for the Rangers, just in that they are a good lineup. Still no Corey Seager, but you still have Semi and Lowe, Garcia, Young, Heim. Like, this is a very dangerous lineup. And you have a pitcher making his major league debut, so you don't really know what to expect. So the Rangers, you know, as a stack, do look good as well. They are right behind Arizona in top stack percentage, around 13%. They're getting 15% ownership because they're a little bit less expensive, a little bit higher value score. But I think Heaney's number 1, Rangers number 2, Diamondbacks number 3, and you can't play Brandon Pfaadt. So
makes that one easy. All right, a couple of things that I want to address in chat. Now, first of all, Danny says Adam looks like Danny Tamborelli now. Lil Pete from Pete and Pete. I don't know who that is. I think that's a cartoon, but I don't know who that is. Talking about needing to take stands versus spreading it out. I mean, I think that's sort of a matter of risk tolerance, personal preference, not as much like a strategy thing. Like certain slates, maybe it is best to take stands. Other slates, I don't know that you necessarily need to. But the one I really want to talk about is we're going back to the comments that we talked about yesterday. Trey McKell in chat says, Neil Ship, per your comments yesterday, and I know you'll disagree, but MLB players are not robots and are subject to emotions that affect their game. Just because you can't quantify something doesn't mean it's not viable. Talking about Sean V and his theory on guys getting hopped up for games. These are some of the most competitive people on the planet, and you're naive to think emotions can't affect these guys positively or negatively. They are not robots. Had to back Sean V. I understand baseball is not basketball, nor is it football, but I would suggest y'all talk to a sports psychologist before you tell Sean V he's stupid. Man,
I'll take it.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, playing baseball, having played baseball, I completely agree. Nobody's saying that it doesn't exist. It's that you said it in your
you can't quantify it.
You can't quantify it. Yep. We're playing a predictive game. If you can't quantify it, you can't do anything with it. And the idea that somebody wants to do better, or like that somebody, you know, is more motivated. Again, it is kind of misleading because like they're always motivated, but like you said, they're ultra competitive athletes. They're not waking up saying like, yeah, I don't really care if I do well today. But on top of that, it's like when we talk about BVP and hot streaks, right? Like they exist, but you don't know when they start. You don't know what's real, what's not. Some hitters do really well against opposing pitchers because they do see the ball really well out of their hand. Some hitters, it seems like, do really well against opposing pitchers when really it's just dumb luck over a small sample, and there's no way of knowing which is which. It's the same kind of stuff. But again, like baseball is different in that you can't just turn it on and turn it off, especially hitting. Like it's really, really hard to hit. You're not just going to go out there against good Astros or, you know, good Giants pitching and say like, oh yeah, well, I really want to do well today. So it all just comes back to like, you can argue all you want about like, if the amount of impact it has, certainly it exists that, you know, players have chips on their shoulder in certain situations, but you can't quantify it. And you're trying to play a game where you need to quantify things. There's just nothing you can do with it.
Yeah, I think ultimately, you're just kind of misrepresenting what we said. Neither of us ever said that they're robots, that they don't get hyped up for games. All we're saying is, if you try to factor that in long term, there will be games. And I don't know what Mauricio Dubon, that's who we were talking about yesterday. I don't know what he did yesterday. Maybe he hit a home run or something. Over the long run, if you track those plays that are like, he's going to get up for this game against his former team. He's playing close to his high school stadium, whatever. Over the long run, I think you'll see that players regress to the mean. Like ultimately,
Right.
players are going to end up like getting the stats they should have over a large sample size, looking at all of these players who have something to play for. And we're not in their heads. We don't know what different players get hyped up for. Like you can look at, comments, I guess maybe if Mauricio Dubon made comments that, the team mistreated him, maybe in that case you want to factor in that he's going to be hyped up for it. But it's so hard to guess for baseball in particular. It's hard to want to quantify that just because it's going to ultimately regress to the mean. Players are going to do what they're supposed to do, even if, certain games, certain players swing extra hard and get the home run. Other players are going to swing extra hard and just strike out more, like I do in softball.
Right, exactly. Like Jake Swell's just because Josh Gilliam made the point that we had made yesterday. Like basketball, you can actually just shoot more. Baseball, you can't do anything. Jake Swells said you can change your plate approach. Sure, but I mean, going to go under, I think, a pretty safe assumption that major league hitters are operating game to game with what is believed to be their ideal plate approach. So if you're going to say like, oh, well, this guy's just going to swing more because he's facing the Giants facing the Giants, that's likely to be bad for him, not good, because if it was likely to be good, that would be his general approach.
Right. Jake Swell says definitely increases volatility. I mean,
I don't think it mostly does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I think like for baseball in particular, I don't know. It's if you want to factor it in, you guys can go ahead. I don't think that it's going to be good for you long term if you factor in.
Especially hitting in baseball. Like it's one thing, it used to be a thing. Like when Anthony Davis would play the Pelicans, they would just force feed Anthony Davis because you can. But like baseball, you're just not going to get anywhere with that.
Yeah, we do need to get back to that. I just had to address that because I felt like we were being misrepresented a little bit in what we were saying. We're not taking offense to it or anything, Trey. I just wanted to give you that response because I felt like a little bit misrepresented. All right, on to San Francisco at Houston. We have Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants, Framber Valdez for the Astros. Starting with pitchers, Adam. Any interest here?
Valdez looks like the top pitcher on the slate. He, like I said earlier, coming in, he's the only guy really separating himself in the top pitchers tool other than Luis Cessa separating himself negatively. Valdez, 47% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Really, 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 really good ground ball pitcher. Also has good enough strikeout stuff. Goes pretty deep into games. Doesn't walk a lot of guys. Pretty just efficient pitcher. 23.5% strikeout percentage. 3 flat xFIP since last year. About half a home run per 9 innings. So he is standing out here. Not the best matchup against the Giants. There is plenty of right-handed power in this lineup, but still a good spot. 3.4 implied run total. Valdez is pulling on DraftKings 43% ownership. On FanDuel, he is pulling 32%. 19% chance of being the top scoring pitcher there. So pretty clearly the top pitcher across the slate. If you want to be different and go to other pitching to save a little bit of ownership, that's certainly fine. There's plenty of decent pitching on this slate. But Valdez does stand out as the best guy.
Okay. And did you say any interest in Webb?
Webb's just another one of I have interest in every pitcher on this slate except for Luis Cessa, basically. Webb is third in top 2 pitcher percentage at 33%, 31% ownership. Not a great matchup against Houston. Also not a great strikeout pitcher, but another guy that's just good at limiting production. 3.2 xFIP since last year, 3.19 FIP, 0.7 home runs per 9, 22% strikeout percentage, sub 6% walk percentage. He's kind of just like a poor man's Framber Valdez in what's probably a more difficult matchup. So Valdez looks better, but Webb is certainly on par with any other pitcher that you want to play on the slate.
Yep. I'm once again having trouble with I'm trying to add my screen so we can screen share. I don't know what's going on. All right. On to the bats. Any interest in Houston against Logan Webb, or will you be playing any San Francisco to get Contrarian against Valdez?
Yeah, I mean, if you're 150 maxing on a 4-gamer, you're probably playing a little bit of everybody, but neither of these offenses stand out. San Francisco dead last in top stack percentage at 7%, 6% ownership. So you could argue they're going a little bit under-owned. And it is easier, kind of like I was just saying, it's easier on these small slates to just get to the bottom teams because they're still going to come through more often. Like when you talk about a 12-game slate, the teams at the bottom are 1, 2, 3% chance of being the top stack. 7% is like the second best team on yesterday's slate. Whereas today, 7%, on a 4-gamer is dead last. 7% still not nothing. It's a spot where they are going a little bit under-owned. You do also get that added leverage because Valdez is going to be so popular, but still pretty unlikely to come through. Same goes for Houston against Webb. 8% ownership, 10% chance of being the top stack 8% chance to be in the top stack, about 10% ownership on DraftKings. So, you have, I think when you look at Houston's lineup, you have more hitters that you're like, man, I really just want to get to that guy regardless of matchup, namely Alvarez and Kyle Tucker, both just, phenomenal outfield plays pretty much against anybody. So I think that's going to drive up the ownership here a little bit, but still a tough matchup against Webb. Just doesn't give up a lot of power. Since the start of last season, 125 expected ISO to right-handed hitters for Webb, 134 to lefties. So very similar to Valdez. It's you can stack either of these teams because it's a 4-game slate, but it's a situation where you're not looking at either pitcher and saying like, oh, he struggles with this, and so I'm going to target that hitter because it sets up nicely for him. If Logan Webb has his normal stuff, it doesn't look good for anybody. It's perfectly fine if you want to just say like Kyle Tucker is really good or Alvarez is really good. Let's play them. Sure. But it's not like you're looking at it and saying like, oh, Logan Webb struggles with left-handed bats, so Tucker looks great. It's more so let's just hope Logan Webb has one of his 10 starts that he doesn't have his best stuff and that the Astros go off.
Okay. All right. How would you rate the 4 sides of this game?
Valdez 1, Webb 2, Astros 3, Giants 4.
All right. Let me try this one more time. I'm might not be able to share my screen today, so I can't show you how everybody's gonna be devastated. I can't show you how my team is doing on SoRare. But let me try just one more time so we can show you what we're talking about when we talk about SoRare. Yeah, it's still not showing up for me. So I will just tell you about SoRare a little bit. SoRare is a collection of digital trading cards and an NFT-based free-to-play baseball game that I find to be very fun. So you're collecting NFTs. You can, when you sign up for SoRare, and I put the link, it's at the top of chat right now. I'll see if you can still see it there. But when you sign up, you get free cards you can enter into contests for free. And in those contests, you can win limited cards numbered to 5,000. So just using the free cards that they give you when you sign up, you can enter contests where you can win actual cards that you can then later sell. These are limited cards numbered to 5,000, tracked on the Ethereum blockchain, or you can just buy those. So you can't actually buy the common cards. That's why it's sort of an interesting puzzle. There's like 2 different types of puzzles. The common cards, you can't buy them. You can trade in your cards. They give you a certain number of cards. You get to choose which cards you want from a group when you sign up for SoRare MLB. And then after that, if you change your mind about some of those cards, you can trade in some of those cards. Every day you get the option of trading in one card. So that's one way to get different cards. You can also win common cards in the contest. So there are a couple different ways, but you can't just buy them. Whereas limited, which is the contest that I like more, you can actually buy the cards. Whatever cards you want to play a given week, you can go out and get them on the market. These are cards numbered to 5,000. And in the limited contest, you can win real money. You can also win other limited cards. You can win like tier 1. You can win a Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, those kinds of limited cards. You can also win, as I said, real money or rare cards in some of those contests. So really, really fun game to check out. It is free to join SoRare, depending on which type of contest you want to play. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Let me throw the link back in because I'm guessing we've had enough comments that we actually probably lost the link that I put at the top of the chat. So let me throw that back in here. It's also in the link in the description of this video. If you want to find it there, but let me throw it in chat as well for anybody who's interested in checking out SoRare MLB. Again, a new way to play fantasy sports. They have contests twice a week, so it's not weekly, it's not daily, but twice a week you have 3 to 4 game slates or day slates. So a lot of fun. Yeah, and somebody said, where are the soothing life sounds, where are the sidebar graphics? Yeah, when I'm self-producing, so for these morning shows, we just don't have those. I don't know if that will change once NBA goes away, but for now, these morning shows, I'm self-producing and do not have the ability to do sidebar graphics for the later MLB Live Before Lock. So we do have 2 Live Before Locks today. For the later slates MLB Live Before Lock, I believe it will be produced with a producer who will have the ability to put games on there. But for this, just a 4-game slate, so not the end of the world to not have that sidebar. Oh, we got Arizona's lineup.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so all the lineups are in now. Just waiting for projections to update, and then I can zone out and stop paying attention for a minute. But
beautiful.
Yeah, weaker lineup than projected for Arizona. No Gabby Moreno. You have Jose Herrera in there instead, so that makes Heaney look a little bit better. Corbin Carroll still not back. That's nice for Heaney as well.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So we're waiting on projections there. I guess you've already given that's probably all the update you need to give on that breakdown for the lineup.
Yeah. Those are the 2 things that I was like paying attention to was, would Moreno play the day game and would Carroll be in the lineup?
Okay. All right, on to the third game of the slate. So now we're in the second half of the slate, just 4 games on this one. Cincinnati at San Diego. We have Luis Sessa on the mound for the Reds, Seth Lugo for the Padres. I think you've already said you don't have interest in Sessa. Any interest in Lugo here?
Yeah, Lugo looks good. 8,200, one of the more favorable matchups on the slate against Cincinnati, relatively weak offense in San Diego. So also getting out of the extremely favorable hitter conditions in Cincinnati, or hitter park, I should say. Lugo just looks good here at 8,200. Very, very, very good curveball. One of the highest spin rate curveballs in baseball. That's been the case for years for him. Used to be a reliever. Now he's a starter, but, fully stretched out. So far this year, striking out 16% of righties, 28% of lefties. Has given up some power in a limited sample. 190 expected ISO to lefties, 181 to righties. His actual ISO is sub 100 to righties, 151 to lefties. So he is due for some negative regression there. Just seemingly getting lucky so far in terms of limiting power, but still not a ton of power in the Reds lineup, and not a ton of ace level. I guess there's good pitching today, but everybody has some sort of a flaw basically. So it still makes Lugo grade out pretty well. 39% projected ownership on DraftKings, 36% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. So nothing really crazy that stands out there in terms of being overowned or underowned. 34% chance of being a top 2 value on DraftKings as well. It looks like a good pitcher here. 3.3 implied run total for the Reds, one of the lowest on the slate.
Nice. I just saw the boy from Cali 12 asked, can you play both Valdez and Webb in one lineup? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can play. Yeah. I mean, I think Adam, I will say even on a large slate you can, but especially on a 4-game slate, not even a consideration for me.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't have an issue with it even on bigger slates, but certainly on a 4-gamer.
Yep. I like that. Red Skittle says, SoRare named after how often he cashes lineups. That's funny. All right. How about the bats in this Cincinnati? I mean, Luis Sessa going up against the Padres. I imagine you have some interest. What's your level of interest in the bats in this game?
Yeah, certainly very interested in the Padres here. Sessa, 201 expected ISO to righties since last year, 160 to lefties. No Manny Machado does water this lineup down a bit for the Padres, but you do get Bogarts back. Tatis obviously is great. Juan Soto, who the hell knows at this point, but I'm going to continue playing him because I trust projections, and it's just going to burn money until he figures out how to hit again. But 5,100 for him is perfectly fine here. Carpenter is cheap at 3K. Cronenworth's cheap at 3,800. Certainly like getting to either of those guys. So it is a little bit weaker Padres lineup than normal with no Machado. Also, you have Brett Sullivan catching instead of Nola. So that, hurts a little bit, but nice combination of value and upside here. Trent Grisham's leading off. He's very inexpensive at 3,300. I mentioned Carpenter and Cronenworth being cheap. Ha-Seong Kim is only 3K. So you're still kind of getting everything from this team. They have a 23% chance of being the top stack. They are separating from the pack. Philadelphia is second at 16%. Arizona's third at 14%. So a gap there. Also 17% chance of being the top value because of those prices I was just mentioning. 22% ownership. So really, they don't look like they're going over-owned here either, given that they do offer value and they are the most likely to succeed. So certainly happy to get to them. I do have some interest in Cincinnati. They are inexpensive, so they're pulling some ownership. They're getting about 10% ownership on DraftKings. 20% chance of being the top value stack is the highest on the slate. But for the reasons I was just saying, Lugo is a solid pitcher, but he has run pretty good so far this year in terms of limiting power. The Reds don't have a lot of it, but you do have some decent bats here. India is always a relatively high upside second base option. Spencer Steer has power and he's cheap. Tyler Stevenson is one of the higher upside catchers on the slate. Nick Senzel, when he's healthy, like Nick Senzel is somebody that I guess it's probably been, 4 or 5 years now, was a really, really highly regarded prospect because he has some power, he has some speed. He's just been constantly hurt for however long that period has been. But right now he's healthy and he's cheap, and the guy's still a promising baseball player when he's healthy. So there is some stuff to like at cheap price tags in this Reds lineup. And then you also get the added benefit of, if they do well, a third or 40% of the field is losing because of Lugo. Granted, that benefit on this particular slate isn't as important because every pitcher is getting 20 to 50% ownership. So other than Sessa, so any team that you stack, you are kind of stacking against a chalk pitcher.
Would you play any batters against your pitchers today?
I have it capped at 1. I don't want to be mini stacking against them or anything on a 4-gamer like I would on a 2 or a 3, but I don't mind getting a bat there. I mean, you can have a pitcher have a good game, still give up a home run, and it also helps you be different.
Right. give up a couple solo shots even. So
Right.
on a slate like this where none of the pitchers feel all that safe, I think that I'd be
Right.
okay playing one.
Yeah, I
as
was
well.
gonna say that also. Like when you just have every pitcher looking, more or less the same, and they're all good but not great. I'm more inclined to be willing to do it also.
Machado not starting today?
No,
Didn't realize that.
it's okay. I talked about it for like a full minute, like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was listening. Jeff says Miller's. Yeah, after he said that, I was looking. That's why I wasn't listening, because I was looking up what would you have put the over under at for the Millers yesterday?
Below what they did.
56
I didn't
fantasy
have
points for the
nearly enough of
Millers.
those guys.
Yeah, I actually played the cheaper Bryce Miller in
Yep.
my 888. It was Miller and Joe Ryan, so that actually went really well for me. The pitching aspect of it. Of course, I could have, rather than Joe Ryan, just played the other super cheap Miller. I could have just gone double Millers there. Not the way I went, but yeah, that was. You were high on them. I did not anticipate 56 fantasy points out of the duo there, especially. And then, again, they were in the same game, so only one of them got the. I assume one of them got the win.
I don't. Neither one.
Neither one got the win. They still got 56 fantasy points.
Yeah, because Mason Miller went 6 innings, 6 or 7 innings with a no hitter, came out of the game, and the reliever immediately gave up a home run.
Yeah,
to tie it at 1.
Man, brutal. No win for either of the Millers, but still, I'd take 56 fantasy points out of. They combined were 9,700, I think. So together, their salary is like one ace. Got 56 fantasy points. Obviously, takes up a roster spot. Not the exact same thing, but still very cool. Good to see those rookies doing well. Red Skittle says Adam just got Adamed. Yeah, me not listening to you. I Adamed you. All right.
Rolfie is still the king of that. I don't know how I'm getting that reputation.
I mean, I do it all the time. When I'm hosting in particular, it's just I get so distracted. I'm trying to do other things. I'm like trying to listen. And Adam's one of the guys I learned DFS from. I respect Adam's opinion. I'm just very busy doing other stuff, so I can't just listen to talking about all the different plays. All right. Did you rank the four? I don't think you ranked the four sides of Cincinnati.
Padres, Lugo, Reds, Sessa.
All right, we will move on. I do want to tell you guys, though, we have a great offer once again from BetMGM. You get up to $1,000 paid back in bet credit. So if you live in a state where you have legal sports betting, BetMGM should be available to you. You can get $1,000 paid back in bet credits on your first bet. So if your first bet is if you bet $1,000 on your first bet, you will, and you lose that bet, you're going to get $1,000 back in bet credits. So you can take a big risk there on your first bet. You're going to get paid back in bet credits anyway. And of course, if you get the bet right, you won't get the bet credits back. You're just going to get a ton of money for nailing a good pick there. So make sure you check it out. You also get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. It's essentially 2 great deals in one when you sign up for BetMGM using the link in the description of this video or using promo code Platinum Sub. And I feel like I'm underselling it. The Stokastic aspect of it. The Stokastic tools have been absolutely crushing. Actually, I'm wearing this Colorado Rockies hat today, Adam. It's because I'm trying to rub off Steve's good mojo on everybody, because Steve wears the Rockies hat. I'm thinking if I wear the Rockies hat, maybe I'll bring some good luck to myself, to you, to the viewers. We can all kind of steal that good luck from Steve a little bit now that I'm wearing my Rockies hat. That's my goal here. But you're going to have.
He won again last night, right?
I do know he won another $100,000 last night. Just I've never seen. I think I said yesterday, I've never seen anything like the run Steve was on, and then he won another 100. It's just he's gonna Have you?
Oh, God.
No, you go ahead. I was just gonna say, have you ever seen anything like it?
No, I haven't. This is the most insane daily run that I can imagine, or that I can remember. But he was actually, so I hadn't played the 888 or whatever, so I didn't realize he was winning that. He was winning the $15 for 50K at the pretty much end of the games, and then he got passed. And I messaged Josh joking and was like, "Oh, Steve just got knocked out of first, so he only won 20K. Nobody runs worse." And then I saw that he'd held in the 888 and won 100K anyway.
Of course he had. Steve just crushing everything. But I'm trying to bring some of Steve's luck to all of you by wearing my Colorado Rockies hat. Of course, you're going to have better odds, not just luck, if you bring a little bit more skill to it. So make sure you sign up at BetMGM, get access to these Stokastic tools that Steve helped create and curate these tools. It's not just by chance that these tools are doing well. It's because Steve is one of the best DFS players of all time, just absolutely crushing MLB DFS. And you can have access to the same tools that Steve uses. If you sign up for this BetMGM offer, use promo code Platinum Sub or the link in the description. To take advantage of this offer, you will get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum will be given to you after you sign up. So make sure you check out that offer. You do, of course, have to place a bet. You can't just sign up. You need to deposit. I should check the details. I think it's $10. Deposit at least $10. Place a bet of at least $10. Yeah, deposit at least $10. Make your first paid bet. And then you'll be able to redeem a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, and get the luck that Steve has going, because I'm wearing my Rockies hat. Use some skill like Steve does by taking advantage of these tools that Steve helped to create and curate. Make sure you check that out. BetMGM. Use the link in the description or promo code Platinum Sub. All right, the final game.
Somebody just asked if you were this generation's Neil Borland.
I don't know what that means. I saw it.
Home Improvement.
Oh, yeah, I get that all the time. Isn't it Al Borland? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did I say Neil?
You did say Neil. So yeah. I think that's why I was confused.
Yeah, that would be why.
Trey McCall says, are you going to have him on your pod at all? He was my 11th guest, I want to say. He was already on High Stakes. So go check out
bring him back and ask him what he changed?
I mean, that's the thing. I think people people don't give Steve respect for, like, he's been crushing for a decade. Obviously nothing he has right now, but like he's been crushing every sport for, like, I think he's one of the more underrated DFS players. And people might disagree, like, oh, I've always known the name DeColts. I don't think I knew who Steve was before I started doing content. I saw him on a Stokastic show, learned he had won a Millie Maker, and then at that point I knew the name, and then suddenly I was like, oh shit, this dude like wins everything all the time. Obviously not like he has lately, but like he's always been a great DFS player.
Yeah, he's always been really good. He was somebody, whenever like we hired him or whatever, I saw it, like, put two and two together. I was like, oh, I've seen that name around a ton.
Yeah, it took me a minute, but yeah, now after I learned his name, I was like, man, this guy is everywhere. He is so good. But yeah, he was already on High Stakes. I want to say episode 11 or so. He was the first season of the show, and really, really good interview. Really interesting guy, really smart guy, obviously. So yeah, check that out. All right. Next final game of this 4-gamer, we have the Phillies at the Dodgers. Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies, Gavin Stone for the Dodgers. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, Nola is, has been good for years. Very, very tough matchup going up against the Dodgers, but still Aaron Nola at pretty modest ownership for a 4-game slate. So that is interesting too, pulling 25% ownership. And I get it. He's facing the Dodgers. He's not going to project as well as Valdez. Doesn't give you the same sort of value as Lugo. But at the same time, Valdez, Lugo, Webb, Andrew Heaney, all pulling more ownership. And it's not a knock on those guys. They're all good, but they don't have the track record outside of Valdez that Nola does. It shouldn't surprise anybody if Nola just goes out there and has a good game. So certainly risky against the Dodgers. I get why he's not one of the more popular pitchers, but he is projected to go a little bit under-owned here. And, it's just kind of always appealing when you can be somewhat different by just playing Aaron Nola on a 4-game slate.
Yeah.
On the other side, Stone does offer value. You're probably not really going to need to pay down to a 5K pitcher here. But also, this is another difference in baseball compared to other sports. Like, people ask about leaving money on the table, and I'm not going out of my way to do it, but it's a lot more doable in baseball than it is in basketball. So like the Miller example yesterday is the perfect example where you could have just left a ton of money on the table because they were just like the top scoring pitchers too.
Oh, yeah.
Gavin Stone right now has a 22% chance of being a top 2 scoring pitcher. So again, I'm not saying go out of your way and just like start turning Seth Lugo into Gavin Stone, but if you're getting lineups like that, it's not the craziest thing in the world in large field tournaments if you're multi-entering to just have some lineups where you are leaving money, because Gavin Stone is still going to beat Seth Lugo, Logan Webb, Andrew Heaney a pretty nice chunk of the time.
Yeah, that's a good call. You don't necessarily need to. It's not just about the salary. He's actually a pitcher who has a chance to do really well.
Yeah, and for anybody not familiar with who he is, this is his major league debut. So again, a lot of volatility here. But on this, the other side, it's a pitcher that the Phillies haven't seen. Like, I'm sure they have scouting reports on him, but it's different when you're seeing a guy for the first time. He is using FanGraphs the 60th overall prospect in baseball. He has made 6 starts at AAA this year, 24 innings pitched. He struck out 25.7% of hitters. Last year, he made 6 starts at AAA, struck out 35.5%. The bat projects him for a 25% strikeout percentage, 3.75 FIP. He's a solid pitching prospect. Tough matchup, especially now that the Phillies also have Bryce Harper back, but still upside for the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a couple. First of all, AQ DFS says that there's an active shooter at 15 the Peach Street, Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, be careful. I don't know if that's I haven't seen anything. I'm not checking the news right now, but yeah, if you're near that in Atlanta, make sure that you are being careful out there. But somebody else was asking, who is
I
Steve?
just
Yeah.
got a citizen alert for it, even
Oh,
though I'm
really?
a million states away.
Interesting. Yeah, be careful out there. At the top of the Stokastic, I wasn't sure if that was like something that that I should respond to. Is that something that is a real thing? But apparently, yeah, we're getting actually warnings about it. Then, yeah, be careful out there in Atlanta. Somebody else asking who Steve is. If you go to stokastic.com, check out the banner at the top. You can see Steve Buzzard, and there's actually an offer, which I wasn't told to do this read, but promo code May Bundle. You can get $5 for $5. You can get 3 days of Stokastic Plus. Another way to take advantage of checking out these Stokastic tools. If you're not in a legal betting state, definitely a good way to at least give it a little try for 3 days. Like obviously 3 days, you're still the odds are against you, but at least worth checking out the tools, kind of see how they work, see if maybe there's something you could find useful. And you can see Steve, a picture of Steve right in the middle there with his Colorado Rockies hat on, just like mine. Somebody just said that I think he was talking to me. Razor Ramon said the bill of your hat is broken. You look stupid. Something along those lines. I don't know.
That could have been to either of us.
It could have been because I agree with him. You should be curving your hat a little bit.
We'll know if this person is over 45 years old, they were talking to me. If they are under 30 years old, they're talking to you. If they're in the middle, then I don't know.
Well, let me give you the full context. The bill on your hat is broke. Only people should wear hats like that are skaters and dirt bike dudes. Look stupid as fuck. Who do you think
he's talking to me, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it does. No, it's a beautiful hat. You just need to curve it a little bit. Like that's something when you get a new hat on, you're supposed to like break it in a little bit.
Would ruin it. I don't even see the comment.
It's up a little bit.
Okay, never mind. I see it.
Yeah. It's funny because you've been wearing that, and he's been in chat for that's the reason I'm thinking it might be me that he's talking to, because Razor Ramon has been in the chat for like the past few weeks, and you've been wearing that same hat for weeks. So
I hope it's just been like wearing on him for weeks, and
he's just pissed off.
Take it anymore.
That would be funny. All right. How about the bats in the Philadelphia Dodgers game? Any interest in the bats here?
Yeah, it's the Phillies and Dodgers. So certainly interested in both sides. Not the best matchup, but that's kind of the weird thing about this slate is we haven't really had any spots where you're just like, oh, I absolutely love this spot. It's the Padres are the closest thing to that. And even that, Luis Sessa is not good, but he's not awful. It's not like you have Madison Bumgarner running around anywhere on the slate. So facing a pitcher who's good isn't a reason to just write off a team. Both of these offenses are also very good. Both teams have a 4.5 implied run total here. You have Nola, who has struggled some this year, facing a very good Dodgers team. You have a Dodgers pitcher making his major league debut, so obviously things can go wrong there. In the top stack tool, Philly's coming in second, 16% chance to be in the top stack, 14% projected ownership against Stone. Dodgers coming in fifth, but still a 12% chance to be in the top stack, about 13% ownership. So certainly some interest in both sides. We don't have any data obviously at the major league level on Stone as far as splits go. As far as Nola goes, since last year, 128 expected ISO to lefties, 136 to righties. So far this year, he's gotten really unlucky with left-handed power. 256 actual ISO, only a 148 expected ISO. So that's likely to come back down to earth. 148 expected ISO to righties. So Nola's not a pitcher, kind of like I was saying with Logan Webb, saying with Valdez. It's not a pitcher where you can look at it and say, like, if he struggles, it's likely to be with this hitter. It's more so stack the Dodgers and hope Aaron Nola doesn't have it.
Okay. How would you rank the four sides of this one?
This one's tough because they're all like comparable to me in that none of them look great, but all of them have really high upside. I think I would go Phillies 1, Dodgers 2, Nola 3, Stone 4, but like you could really flip that in any order depending on how you want to frame it. Like if you want to say like Stone's the best value at 5K, I wouldn't argue that. If you want to say that Nola's a good tournament play because of his ownership, no argument there. But in terms of like, I think chances of success, I would say Phillies, Dodgers, Nola, Stone.
Okay. We did get a lot of people after talking about your hat a little bit. A lot of people coming into your defense saying that it's a great hat. People are loving that Orioles hat. So just one old guy who doesn't like it apparently,
or young guy who doesn't like yours,
or young guy who doesn't like mine. Yeah, just as likely probably. I feel like what do you think is more common these days? I feel like those flap rim, at least at Stokastic, those flap rim hats are way more common than dad hats are.
Yeah, they're more common in general. It just looks better.
I I can't. So I have the Osmo hat. That was the one piece of merch that I got from. Maybe I got a couple, but I got an Osmo hat that was flat brimmed. And I was like, this just does not look right on me. It might just be me because I look a little bit older. I'm like, I don't feel like I can pull it off. I like the my XFL hat is like kind of like right in between a dad hat and a flat brimmed hat. Like it's like a lower curve. That's part of the reason I like that XFL hat. I think I like trucker hats are my favorite type of hat for myself, but I can't quite pull off the full on flat brim.
Also, to be clear, like if I'm like going out, I pretty much never wear this hat forward. Like I wear flat brims backwards. I wear like more curved hats if I'm wearing it forward.
Okay. See? Oh, okay. Interesting.
But generally, I just wear backwards hats.
Yeah. Okay.
But like my DraftKings hat, my like Live Life hat, those are both curved brims that I wear forward. They look ridiculous backwards. And if I'm like just wearing a hat out and forward, I'll wear those. I pretty much never wear this forward because it looks fine, but weird.
It is important to remind the world to live, laugh, love. So I'm glad that you wear that one forward on the streams. I'm sorry, I have to keep doing that bit. I don't know why I find it so funny. Make myself laugh. Like a dad. I guess it's like a dad joke. Usman Andam says, speaking of Osimo, what happened to him? He's still around. He still works for the company. We changed the name, but Alex is still here doing projections and stuff, working behind the scenes. He hasn't done, I guess he doesn't do as much MLB content. I think that's just a choice that he's made. I'm sure he'll at some point be getting back here, doing some more content for us. All right, Adam, we have got to the end of the 4 games. Let's go to top 3 stacks to get somebody riled up, angry that one of your top 3 stacks doesn't work out. Who, if you're playing a 3 max contest, what are the 3 stacks you'd go to?
I think San Diego, Philly, Arizona, kind of keeping it simple, but looking at the top stacks tool, none of those teams are actually projected to go over owned, and they're the 3 most likely to succeed. So seems like a pretty good reason to just roll with them.
Sorry, who did you say? San Diego?
San Diego, Philly, Arizona.
San Diego, Philly, Arizona. Okay. And then 3 favorite pitchers.
Valdez, Lugo, I like probably either Heaney or Nola. Heaney, I like the price tag more. I like the strikeout upside. Nola, I like the lack of ownership.
Okay. And then home run pick.
This one's tough. Like every pitcher today is good. All right, should probably look to Arizona. That's going to be the most obvious spot to find a home run. Who has been good since last year? Damn, these guys actually all kind of suck. I'll go Christian Walker.
JR SMTS. Is there a baseball show tonight? Yes, there is. We will have a live before lock. I think Adam will be back for it. Don't take my word for it, but Adam probably back for that one. Adam Saylor just nailed who I was going to take for my home run pick. I think Juan Soto gets it back tonight. He gets the home run against Luis Cessa, lefty on righty. I'm going with Soto here. All right, Adam, any final thoughts?
Just as far as if you're playing tournaments, just be comfortable with being uncomfortable on a slate like this. I think no matter I don't think there's any lineup you can really build, any route you can go where you're going to look at it and say like, I'd be surprised if this fails. There's not a lot you're going to feel good about. So yeah, just, play. It makes it, I like slates like this in tournaments because it just makes it easier to just play the ownership game and basically, hope things work in your favor, as opposed to the slates where you're just like, oh, well, I'm not playing the team with the 8 implied run total in cores because they're popular. So right. Yeah, just, kind of, I guess, get comfortable with being uncomfortable with your lineups and on a slate like this.
I like that. And Adam, I think we'll be back for MLB deeper dive, or sorry, live before lock for the late slate later tonight. But somebody will be there at the very least. I don't, even if it's not Adam, probably Adam though. You can catch me in 1 minute. I will be doing an underdog NBA show with Laffy. So check that out as well right here on this channel. Should be a fun show. As usual, coming up in 1 minute. And thank you. By the way, if you haven't yet liked the video, please do so. Really does help us out. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Hit the notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. And good luck on this day baseball slate. Have fun.